Good morning. It is February 14th, 2019. You are listening to the Pat McAfee Show 2.0. This is Ty Schmidt filling in for Pat, who is still on vacation in Hawaii. We'll be back to regularly scheduled programming come Tuesday, but we got another best of for you today. Also, happy Valentine's Day. If you got a significant other, hope you got something good lined up for today/tonight. If you're single, that's unfortunate. You still got a couple hours to figure out what you're going to be doing tonight. If not, remember, there's always next year, you know? Don't put all your chips into one basket this year. Before we get into today's show, we got some business to take care of. First and foremost, we'd like to thank our friends at SeatGeek, who are the presenting sponsor of the Pat McAfee Show. SeatGeek is the greatest ticket buying app on earth, bar none, because they scan for the best prices across several other ticket buying platforms. You're not getting catfished. What you see is what you get. And you're not just going to a live event either. Whenever you're going through SeatGeek, you're creating a story or you're creating a memory that you're going to be able to hold on to for the rest of your life. Whether you want to go to a hockey game, a Broadway show, a comedy show, NBA, you name it, SeatGeek's got the hookup and they're going to get you the best seats available. The best part right now, if you use our promo code PAT, that's P-A-T, at SeatGeek, you're going to get $10 off your first ticket purchase. That's promo code PAT for $10 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. You could also try promo code McAfee and maybe get $20 off your first purchase. Don't know if that's still live, but it's not going to kill you to try. SeatGeek. Go see something live with them. You can be alive, but are you living? Go live and see something live with our friends at SeatGeek. I'd also like to take a moment to talk about something that's very important in everyone's lives, and that's getting a good night's rest. Our friends at leesa have got you covered, folks. All right? Everybody has the right to rest, and the key to getting your best rest is the right mattress. Meet leesa. With 2 awesome mattresses, accessories, and bases for better, deeper rest. The all-foam leesa mattress is new and improved, featuring cooling LSA 200 foam for enhanced pressure relief for side sleepers. I'm a side sleeper. That LSA 200 foam works wonders throughout the night. Or you could check out the rest on Sapira Hybrid Mattress. It's the perfect combination of foam and spring for pressure relief and edge-to-edge support. I know a lot of people who love that one as well. I believe Diggs has the Sapira mattress. leesa's mission is to provide a better night's sleep for everybody. Not just me, not just you, everybody. From day one, leesa set out to create a company with heart. That's why they donate 1 mattress for every 10 they sell through organizations that work in causes like foster care prevention. To date, they've donated more than 32,000 mattresses through more than 1,000 nonprofits. That's a lot of mattresses to a lot of people in need. That's incredible. Best part is right now, leesa's got a massive President's Day sale. You're going to get 15% off any mattress for a limited time at leesa.com/McAfee and use the promo code McAfee. That's LEESA.com/McAfee, promo code McAfee. Look out for yourself, all right? Get a good night's rest, and you're not getting any better night's rest than you are on a leesa mattress. I've got one. I can confirm that. leesa's the best. We love them over here. All right. Let's get into today's show. We got a couple more interviews. Like I mentioned last time, we've picked up some new listeners over the course of the last few months, so I'm hoping that a couple of these shows are going to be new to some people. These are just some of my favorite interviews that we've done over the last 6 to 8 months or so. And we got a couple more good ones today. The first one of my personal favorites. I feel like you don't really hear this guy give interviews too often. He's so busy that just being able to kind of sit down and pick his brain was really, it was incredible. This guy has been an advocate of Pat's for a while now. He works at ESPN. He's been doing what he can to try to get Pat's foot in the door. He's a big fan of him. He loves what he does. Obviously, we all love what he does here. He's the voice of college football, one of the most handsome men in America. Ladies and gentlemen, Kirk Herbstreit.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining me now is a man who's an absolutely legendary human on the television. He's the voice and face of college football, and it's a handsome face and a beautiful voice to be that. This weekend, he's at the Penn State-Ohio State whiteout game. You can see him every Saturday morning on College Game Day delivering the goods about college football week in and week out. I met him for the first time at the ESPN College Football Awards whenever I was nominated for the Ray Guy Award. Ray Guy got it wrong, didn't give me the award, but the weekend was a blast. A true gentleman, a man's man. Ladies and gentlemen, Kirk Herbstreit.
What's up, big man? How you doing?
I'm excellent. How are you, Kirk? Your life is awesome. It's so fun to watch you.
Well, I appreciate it. I enjoy watching you as well. I'm fortunate. I remember you actually playing in college. I know you had a brilliant NFL career, but you also obviously got it done very well in the good old days back in Morgantown, West Virginia. You guys were always good teams back then.
We had a lot of fun. Pat and Steve Slayton, I rode their coattails to a lot of wins. I walked out of there with an all-time point scorer leader, and then I just
and you know, if you think about it, man, Rich Rod was, I mean, I don't know if you're a fan or not, but he was ahead of the game with this whole up-tempo and wearing the different wristbands and being a crazy guy on the sideline. And he was one of the first guys to really make that style of offense go. And, you know, he did it, you know, with smaller schools and then as an offensive coordinator at Clemson. And then, of course, when he had Pat White and Steve Slayton, I mean, that was about as good as it gets. But I think a lot of people started to copy that offense and what they were doing, and now we see it all over the country every week.
I think he would tell you that too, by the way.
Oh, I know he would.
Kirk, I want to dig into you a little bit. So you were Ohio State starting quarterback your senior year. Your dad was also Ohio State Buckeye captain. So when you become 1996, you started doing this College Game Day thing. I believe is for how hard is it to keep the bias out of it for being an Ohio? Because I know the Ohio State cult is a strong one. How hard is it for you week in and week out to do that?
You know, man, it's weird for me because I've never really had a problem with that. I just from day one, you know how you put, like, as I'm talking to you, I just took a break from getting ready for the weekend, and you put so much time into your preparation that when you call the game, you just see two teams and you talk about the teams. And last year was a classic example. We got down to the Final Four and who should be the Final Four, and there was all the talk about it looks like it might come down to Ohio State and Alabama. And Alabama didn't even go to the SEC championship game. They lost to Auburn. How in the heck could they go in? And Ohio State just won the Big Ten championship against Wisconsin. And they have to ask us, which always the tough spot, who should be the four teams? And the easy thing to say, being a former Ohio State guy, as you said, and captain, and my dad was a captain, my wife is a cheerleader at Ohio State, is to say Ohio State. And I've never really looked at it that way. If it's Ohio State, then I would say it's Ohio State. And if it's not, based on what I think, then in that case, I said it was Alabama. I thought Alabama had kind of hit some skids early with some injuries and then got better and better and better. And despite not even making it to Atlanta, I thought they were a better team between Alabama and Ohio State. And so I said Alabama. And so, you know, I don't know why it's not hard for me. I love Ohio State when I'm not on the air. My kids are brainwashed Buckeyes. We love the Buckeyes. But man, when I'm on the air, I just talk about objectively, like whatever I think.
That's because you're a professional, Kirk. Now, you just mentioned the Final Four or whatever, the playoff system. There for so long, the world, BCS, ESPN, even you guys on TV were talking about how a playoff would ruin college football. Now we're at a 14 playoff, and now everybody wants more teams into the playoff. Everybody wants more. How does the college football world kind of solve this problem of their fans wanting more and more and more and more at all times?
Well, you know, you were a player, and I think if you talk to the players, even during the BCS era, most of them would say that they would have wanted some kind of playoff to be able to kind of find out who the best teams really were. The players wanted to play the games. So the kind of politics prevented that from happening. And then finally it just became so obvious that they had to do something that we finally got a 14 playoff. And you're right. I'm a guy that I love regular season college football, like end of August all the way to early December. I'm all in every week. I'm an NFL fan, but I really don't get that way for the NFL until like week 13, week 14. you start seeing the teams, this team needs to win their last two, maybe they win the tiebreaker, that kind of thing. But the urgency doesn't really hit me for the NFL till like November and December. And in college football, it's the entire season. And I've always been big on, if we go to a playoff, I don't want college football to become college basketball. And I'm a diehard college basketball fan, but I really don't care until March Madness.
Yep.
Duke can beat North Carolina, whatever. They're going to drop one spot in the rankings, doesn't even matter until we get to the tournament. And I didn't want college football to become like that, and I still don't. So with that being said, I've always thought 4 would be plenty, but now after watching it for 4 years, I feel like maybe 6, or if you want to go to 8, as long as we can hold on to the regular season still being important and still being relevant, then I'm okay with expanding it to 6 or possibly 8 teams. 6 I think would be ideal. But if you went to 8, I don't think we'd lose the regular season and the importance of it. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I never really thought about it that way, as college basketball doesn't really matter until March Madness. In the conference tournaments, sometimes you'll see a team make a run, but the regular season means absolutely nothing. But with that being said, I believe college football, the reason why the anticipation is high all year is because of the atmospheres, the environments that you get thrusted into in the middle of. College football is a much different ball game than the NFL. What's your favorite environment you got to experience that kind of it made you go like, oh shit, I did not expect this place to be like this, if that makes sense?
An oh shit moment would be Missouri. You never, like I just said Missouri and you're like, what?
Yep.
But when Chase Daniel was at Missouri, I'm telling you, that really surprised me, just the campus itself and just the feel of it. I wasn't expecting that. But my crazy, I love going there place is actually where I'm going this weekend. Penn State, it's a whiteout, and they're ranked in the top 5 or top 10 in the country, and they're playing an opponent that's in the top 5 or top 10, I will challenge anybody, anywhere, other than maybe the Premier League over in Europe, to find a better sports atmosphere than what you'll see this weekend when Ohio State goes into Penn State. It's as good as there is, not just in college football, but in sports.
See, there's your Ohio State bias right there.
Not Ohio State. I'm saying the whiteout Penn State, not Ohio State.
Yeah, it's because Ohio State's there. We get it. 9 a.m. in the morning. Those college kids are lit back there. Do you guys ever just take a moment, look around, and be like, you know what? I hope my kids never go to college.
Oh my gosh. They a lot of times, man, they spend the night in tents out around the set so they get a good spot to be on TV. And they're I maybe when I was younger, I might have kind of looked around and looked at how crazy everybody was. And at this point, Lee Corso told me a long time ago, he's 82 or 83 years old, and he told me when I first started, whatever you do, don't look back. Don't look back at people. Whether they're saying good things or bad things, just keep looking forward. But before we come on the air, everybody's yelling and holding up signs and acting crazy, and we love to be involved with the crowd as much as we can. I mean, that we have great fans, and honestly, I'm not just saying this. Our crowd at our show is almost like another person sitting at the set. I've seen other studio shows try to mimic what we're fortunate to have on College Game Day, and it's just different. It feels almost like made for TV kind of crowd. Our crowd is real and as authentic as you can hope for everywhere we go. And so, we have a good time with them. But, a lot of them are hammered, without a doubt, especially the ones that spend the night there.
The WWE back in the day used to have signs up everywhere. Every single arena they went in, there was signs. And then, obviously, there's some people that ruin it, right? There's some people that put up terrible signs. Do you guys have somebody who's there just strictly looking for bad signs and then getting rid of them like the WWE has?
Yeah, I mean, we have guys that try to look for things that are above and beyond crazy that shouldn't probably be on TV. But also, part of what we like to do is keeping some of those signs, some of the edgy signs that people might think that we're offended by. And and let people know we're not. It's okay. If you want to put something out there that, if you're cussing or saying something like that, then they'll probably take it down. But if you're trying to do something and you think it's a good one, you're probably going to see our security people not take it down. Most people have kind of figured it out, so they'll put like "Go Lions" on one side, and then as soon as we go on the air, they kind of flip the sign and it says whatever it is that they want to say. So there's just so many signs. I'm talking thousands of signs. So it's very hard, I think, for our guys to point out all the different signs that are offensive to possibly the viewers at home.
Describe Lee Corso as a human, because as somebody that watches it, I'm worried he's going to die up there. And he is an electric human being who it sounds like you are very good friends with. What is it like to work with Lee Corso week in and week out for all these years as just a human who's 80 plus years old, still doing it live TV?
Yeah, first I'll tell you this. I have been with him for 23 years, and he's not just 80, 82, or 83 years old. The thing to remember when you watch him is the guy had a stroke about, I want to say 8 or 9 years ago. And when he had the stroke, I don't know if you guys know of anybody, relative or friends or anybody that's ever had a stroke, but sometimes it affects your speech. And in his case, it did. Like, he could barely speak after he had his stroke. And so it happened in the spring. So he had all summer and early part of the fall to try to get ready to go on TV to be able to try to talk. And he was in all kind of speech therapy, and he worked his way through it. And it's still, if you ever watch our show, you can still see sometimes it affects him. People think, take shots at him. Oh, he's so old. Look at how he's talking. But honestly, if you hung out with Lee, you would swear he's 82, but he's playing like 60. Like, he is unbelievable as far as if he didn't have a stroke, the shape he is in, he's walking around these airports carrying his own bags. Think about your grandparents or people that are in their mid-70s, get up to be the latter part of the 70s, early 80s. It's incredible to see what he does and how he's able to kind of maintain himself with all the travel that we do and the work that we put in. So, but at the end of the day, man, he's one of the funniest guys. You would love him. You and him. You guys, you should have him on your show because you would absolutely love his energy, his personality, and he's the king, man. In his prime, there's nobody better at zingers and impromptu thoughts and taking shots at people. He's legendary, and one of the best, to me, one of the best entertainers in television we've ever had.
Oh, that's beautiful. Speaking of your travel, you just mentioned there, you'll do game day in the morning, and then you're calling a game on the other side of the country. What is your weekly schedule? Do you take Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and just kind of relax to kind of gear up for the weekend? What is the Kirk Herbstreit?
So I have 4 boys, and 3 of them, I live in Nashville, and 3 of them play high school football. I have 2 that are seniors and 1 a sophomore. And so I told ESPN for years, when my boys were playing like 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, I said, guys, if they ever get to a point where they're actually playing on Friday nights, it's going to be hard for me not to be there. So I just want to plant that seed now, 3 or 4 years out. And sure enough, around their junior years, they started to play. And so what I do is I typically prepare, Sunday and Monday is just kind of like, I watch your stuff a lot of times on Sundays because I need a good laugh. And honestly, I love what you do with that stuff.
I appreciate it.
And it gives a totally different way of watching NFL games. So I kind of hang out. I'm kind of in and out of NFL games. And then Monday's prep day, phone calls, all that. And then do the same thing Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Thursday, I leave and go to wherever I'm going to call the game. And I'll go there, go to practice, hang out there with the coaches and players, go Friday meetings with College Game Day. We tape 2 or 3 segments for Sports Center and different things. And then usually around 3 o'clock, I'll fly back to Nashville and I'll go to my boys' game on Friday night. And then as soon as their game's over, I'll fly back to wherever game day is. And then I'll do game day in the morning. And then sometimes I'll stay if game day and the game I'm calling are in the same location. But many times after game day, I'll go quickly to an FBO and I'll have to fly to wherever the Saturday night game is, and then just continue to repeat that week after week.
You're a rock star. Dad of the year, Kirk. Dad of the year. You don't look tired at all on Saturday morning. You got to be dead. You got to be dead.
No, man, I'll tell you, when you have boys, if you have boys when they get older and they're playing on Friday nights, it's just once in a lifetime. It's different because there are weeks where I can't, like last week we were in Eugene, Oregon, and I can't get all the way back. So luckily they do have, their school has a TV station where it allows you to at least watch the game online. But it's different from actually being there. And, if your kids have a big moment and you're not there, it's like, that sucks. I wish I would have been there. So it's a big sacrifice, but I don't know. I just feel like I got to be there. So I'll do whatever it takes to be there.
Well, the college football world and the fans everywhere appreciate you, man. Your brain is an incredible one. You're so smooth at calling games. You're so smooth. You have like your third or fourth pairing in the booth right now with you. How do you get so well adjusted to the guy that you're calling games with? Because it's something that you are very good at. And not after watching, and I know that this is somebody you work with, so I can't say it, but watching a football game that happens on the nights of Mondays, it's tough to hear people call those games. So listening to you transition with new color guys play-by-play guys is absolutely incredible. Do you have somebody you like in there the most, or how does that work? Do you guys hang out and have beers together, or what is it?
Yeah, it's honestly, and I think you'll see this as you continue to do different broadcasting. To me, I'm a big advocate of finding time to hang out. So if in my case, I worked with Mike Tirico, who I consider, one of the best in the business, and that's who I broke in with. And I worked with Brent Musburger and Chris Fowler. I'm real big on building a natural chemistry or natural rapport with the guy, that you're not faking it when you're on TV, but you can just kind of hang and, have a few beers on a Friday night or Thursday night or whatever you're doing, go and have a nice meal. And just kind of getting to know the person over time and starting to build a very natural rapport like you would with anybody, that you might become friends with. And I really think that if you can do that, it has a way of transitioning on TV where you're not trying to be friendly with each other. You just kind of, because of that time you spent together, you kind of naturally get there. So that's my theory anyway. And I think if you can do that, tough thing is if you're working with somebody and you can't create that, then I think you're on TV and you're trying to portray that, hey, we get along, and I think it's a lot tougher job if you're in that position as opposed to just hanging out like you and I right now, just sitting here talking about sports and having a good time.
All right, I know you got to go. You're a very busy man. You're awesome to watch on TV in the morning, at night. Everything you're doing for your family's incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, hey, don't be pushing for that goddamn NCAA game to come back so you can have another gig, okay?
Come on, man. We got to get that back.
Yeah.
We missed that game.
I saw you pushing that.
I'll do it for free. I just wanted to come back. I miss playing that game. We used to put in so many hours. Didn't you play that when you were in college?
No, I don't play video games, Kirk. I play real life. I ain't a nerd, Kirk. I'm joking. Yes, everybody played that game. It was awesome. It was absolutely beautiful. O'Bannon or whatever kind of sent that all down in a sinking.
Ruined it.
Yeah.
Destroyed it.
Financial fair stuff. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, the face and voice of college football. Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, Kirk. You're the man.
Yeah, man. Great talking to you.
You too. Kirk Herbstreit. What a human. Thank you, boss.
You got it, bud. Anytime. Keep up your great work.
I didn't think it was possible for Kirk Herbstreit to be any more likable, but I pretty much changed my mind after we interviewed him. Just great guy, more than willing to, go a little longer than the time allotted. A guy like him, obviously his travel schedule, he doesn't have 15 minutes where he's not, have some sort of requirement or needs to be doing something. So it was really awesome that he took the time to sit down with us and actually give, a full on. We basically sat down with him for, 25, 30 minutes. Herbie's the best. I'd love to see him and Pat eventually call a game together. I don't know if that'll actually happen, but having that guy on your side at ESPN is definitely a good thing for sure. Before we change gears and get into the next interview here, I'd just like to know, anyone out there listening, you looking to hire for your business maybe? The right hire can make a huge impact on your business. I'm pretty sure 3 to 4 people in this office, weren't initially working here when we started. Now they're key cogs in the Pat McAfee Inc. machine. That's why it's so important to find the right person. But where do you find that individual? You can post a job on a job board and hope the right person will find your job. But think about it. How often do you hang out on job boards? Got news for you. You're not hanging out on job boards. Don't leave finding someone great to chance when you can post your job to a place where people go every day to make connections, grow in their career, and discover job opportunities. And that's LinkedIn. Most LinkedIn members haven't recently visited the top job boards, but 9 out of 10 members are open to new opportunities. Everybody's always looking for something bigger and better, okay? And with 70% of the U.S. workforce on LinkedIn, posting on LinkedIn is the best way to get your job opportunity in front of more of the right people. You don't got to worry about any scumbags coming in, looking at your job board. You're getting the right people for the right job. I mean, it's the best way to find the person who will help grow your business. And it's also why a new hire is made on LinkedIn every 10 seconds. So hurry to linkedin.com/McAfee and get $50 off your first job post. That's linkedin.com/McAfee to get $50 off your first job post. LinkedIn.com/McAfee. Terms and conditions may apply. Love LinkedIn. Love LinkedIn. I was using it a lot before I came and worked for Pat. It's a great website, I can guarantee if you're on LinkedIn, you're going to find a job probably within the next 3 weeks to a month. Book it. Shout out LinkedIn. All right, this next guy I think surprised a lot of people. I'd seen the documentary, the 30 for 30 that they did on him. I think there was a lot of stuff in there that was just kind of canned answers, very rehearsed, and I don't think you got the full side of the story from this guy because he wasn't as involved in the making of the documentary. But he came in here with us and basically just put everything out on the table. Where he went wrong, it wasn't shying away from all the mistakes he's made in his past. Was very forthright on those and basically is in a position now where he just wants to make sure that kids who are similar to him growing up aren't going to go down that same path. We covered his career in college, post-college, some of his legal troubles, and then what he's doing now. If you haven't heard this interview yet, I'm really excited for you to listen to it. If you have, I've listened to it a couple times now. Honestly, it feels like it gets better each and every time. We covered just about anything that you would want to know. Ladies and gentlemen, from The Ohio State University, Maurice Clarett.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now is a man from Youngstown, Ohio. He was a running back for the Ohio State Buckeyes and led them to a national championship. Some controversies followed that led to him leaving the Ohio State Buckeyes. His life story is one that I cannot wait to dive into. An incredibly talented human who's been through a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find him on the Business and Biceps podcast with Corey Gregory and John Fosco. He runs the Red Zone, a mental health and drug recovery agency. Maurice Clarett.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool intro.
Hey, I appreciate you, Maurice. And I don't want to take much of your time here. I'd love to dig right in because you have one of the most fascinating stories in the history of football. And I think your story does a lot of motivating and inspiring to people about overcoming adversity and stuff like that. So let's get into it. You go to Ohio State. You're being talked about as the greatest running back on earth. Is that some of the most precious times you've ever had in your entire life?
Most precious, I would say yes. Very notable. I think for any kid, when you're playing football to ultimately, go to a premier college and have success, I think is a goal that a lot of young guys have, and to have went there, and to just the teammates that were made, the practices that were had, the memories, even though they were short lived. those things were better than great. They were fantastic, and to accomplish so much in high school and then immediately to go to college and within a 13-month span and to accomplish what we did in college, I wouldn't trade those memories for the world. And those things happened back in 2002 and 3, and still to this day, no matter where I'm at around the country, I'm able to still talk about those and leave some impressions upon people that are lasting.
Buckeyes fans love you for what you did for them. With that being said, the 30 for 30 came out about you, and it seemed as if the AD wasn't the biggest fan of Maurice Clarett, or he wasn't the biggest fan of possibly the situations that were happening. Is there bad blood there between you and Ohio State, or have bygones be bygones since then?
No, just for the story they made it, for the national story, it came off like, I had a problem with Ohio State, but it was actually just me in a tiff between the athletic director. And, at the time you got to take everything in context. In context, he may have felt like he's got slighted from me. And you had two big egos that were basically going against each other. And you're dealing with culture, you're dealing with power, and you're dealing with race. I'm the inner city black kid who comes and makes this big splash on TV. And then I'm just being totally irresponsible with my power. And then you have him who's not going to be pushed around or disrespected by this kid who thinks he owns the university. And so I think if we both had a chance to do it over again, that we will do it, or we would do it. And that's kind of where it was. But, me and Ohio State, we've never directly had problems. It was just a disagreement or a way of how we should do things at 18. But, I was 18 years old, and, I'm pretty sure if you take any 18-year-old and you give him a tremendous amount of power and a tremendous amount of just leverage over a city where you have more people saying yes rather than no, that they may make the same mistakes. And so everything is good between me and Ohio State now. I don't make it down as much as I would like to, be it that, just the distance from the university is about 40 minutes from my house, 30 or 40 minutes from my house. But I usually make it to a couple games a season, and I'm just happy to see that, those young guys are off doing a great thing this season.
I don't want to dive into the negative, but I feel like it's a huge part of your story and a huge reason why you're so inspiring. Your exit from Ohio State revolved around a lot of situations. There were death threats I heard being involved. There was possible money involved. There was arrest. There was a murder, I believe, involved. What is your side of kind of the events that unfoiled there for you in Ohio State's kind of interesting separation?
No, I mean, it was the irony, like I said, everything was dramatized on TV. My reasoning for getting left or leaving Ohio State was something like a $50 check. All of the lies that I told the NCAA. So for every lie that I told them that they went to go and investigate, they gave me a sanction for, and I had about like 125 sanctions, and they were asking me endless amounts of questions about teammates and things that may have taken place. But I didn't have a situation where I was taking tens and not even $1,000. I don't have a situation where I was taking thousands of dollars from boosters and cars from everywhere. I used a car from a used car dealership. The car had got broken into, and in the process of the car getting broken into, I reported the car being broken into on campus, and from there, that was the extent of the car situation, and that happened like in April of 2003. Later on that year, they came back and they said, how could you as a college student have $800 and 300 or 400 CDs? Those CDs that used to be back in the day in those big bookcases. How could you have those things? And I said, well, those things weren't mine. They were actually in the car that I used from the dealership, because the car had recently got repoed, and the dealer kind of let me use the car because it was a cool-looking vehicle at the time. And that raised so much suspicion as if these were my items. And literally, if you go back and look into the text, all this stuff is easy to get your hands on. It's public information. I didn't get suspended for anything like that. It was like a $50 check I had received, $40 or $50 I had received from a gentleman to come to a kid's party. lying to the NCAA about my whereabouts and where I lived at. I lived in my aunt's condo, and I thought that was illegal at the time, but I lied to them about where I was living at, and just not being forthcoming about everything that they asked me for is essentially why I got suspended. And the turn came from this. Most people don't realize that when you do get suspended, your university has to recommend a sanction. And the crazy part about it is that the NCAA said that they would have been fine with 3 or 4 games, but the university actually recommended the entire season or to suspend me indefinitely. And that's where the bad blood became in with me and Andy Geiger, because he had an opportunity to say, hey, I'll sit you out 3 or 4 games. The NCAA would have been totally fine with that, because it wasn't like, I accepted $50,000 from a booster. They were like, hey, this guy just lying a bunch. Let's just put him on a corrective action plan. Slap him on the wrist or do something like that and get him back into the game. But the university wanted to make a bigger statement. And the bigger statement was made because they knew they had Jim O'Brien, who was the basketball coach at the time, getting ready to get suspended. So they wanted to act like they were harsh on this stuff. And so Jim O'Brien, who's the basketball coach, and Andy Geiger, they're real good friends. And so, let's penalize hard to Maurice Clarett for the disrespect he's given, and let's lay it light on Jim O'Brien, the basketball coach. So there's a lot of politics, a lot of stuff that I ended up filing out after the fact, but that's water under the bridge. But I just gave you the story just because you asked. Hopefully it wasn't too much.
It was amazing, Maury. I just learned so much right there that I never knew before. Because the thought of the Gestapo NCAA finding down a sanction for every lie an 18-year-old tells them, who's straight out of the streets of Youngstown, who's finally getting a chance at the limelight. The adults didn't seem to act like the adults in this particular situation. They seemed to they acted a lot more like children instead.
Here we go. I'll give you another situation that was comical, right? So I had a booster in high school, a gentleman who was a booster club of a high school friend, or he's a booster club of ours. He's a friend of the program. He ended up getting me a cell phone my junior year in high school, right? And every month that he paid the bill, that was a different infraction. So instead of just saying, hey, you use a cell phone, and it was illegal to have a cell phone in high school, every month that the bill was paid, these people gave me an infraction. So if you could round up, maybe 36 months, that was 36 of the 125 infractions. You know what I'm saying? So when you look into this, if you go look at other people's suspensions that were highly notable, and they got like $250,000, when you just shake everything out, these facts aren't hard to find. When you shake everything out, this was not like some big NCAA scandal where I had piles of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars. It just wasn't like that. This more had to do with Jim Brown versus Andy Geiger, and Maurice Clarett being the person who disrespected Andy Geiger and said, hey, these guys lied about sending me home. So this was a pissing match, but nonetheless, a lot was learned from it. A lot that I wish I didn't have to go through, but nonetheless, a lot was learned from it, and I'm a better person because of it. That's all I can say.
You're fucking 18 years old, though, at the time. I mean, so they fuck you over. You get suspended for a year. That kind of turns your life into a complete different momentum than it was at. You're at Ohio State, leading them to a national championship. I'm assuming the thought is I'm going to grind in this offseason. I'm going to keep it going. Hopefully, NFL hopes with how everybody's talking. And instead, your life goes in a complete opposite direction. Am I correct?
Yeah, so, I got suspended, and this was probably the biggest time. And, from being just a football player, right, you have stress with performance, but it's easy. If you want to get better in the weight room, you go lift some weights. If you want to get better from a speed and agility standpoint, you go and, run through some ropes or lift more weights or do whatever you think you can do to better become a better athlete. What actually happened was I've never dealt with personal stress, right? And so when I was dejected from the actual university, and I was kind of like put on the sideline per se, I just didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know what to do with all that time. And dealing with all of that anxiety, what I didn't realize is that I found the mood changer back in the bars, back drinking, back drugging, back smoking, and, all this stuff just wasn't a part of my program prior to going to Ohio State, right? I thought that I was going to be like the next golden child and go with a couple Heisman trophies and, work my ass off and eventually, become who I want to become. But that's not kind of how things played out. And what eventually happened was, like, I was just so stressed out and so confused and so, fucked up from the moment, just to be blunt, with you, just smoking weed and popping pills and drinking and having a ton of sex is what actually felt better, But when I look back on it, I wasn't doing nothing but just trying to alter my mood and escape actually, what was going on. And so, there's a few things people can't teach you, and being famous is one of them. Saying nobody tells you how to steward the fame that you receive when you're either a professional athlete or a collegiate athlete, and chances are, if you don't have a good support system, when a huge adversity moment hits you, you'll kind of stay in the same situation and be fucked. And literally, I kind of isolated myself. The more success I seen guys have on the field, it felt like life was passing me by. And eventually I just kind of like isolated myself, and, drinking and drugging became a thing. And I just kind of left away from the world. I went out to Southern California. I really thought that hooking up with Jim Brown and going to, LA, at the time he had a program called American where he was helping guys transition from prison. I thought like just being around that vibe would help. But when I got to LA, it was a completely different culture. You can drink and drug all day and nobody says shit. And so when I got out there, it was just, it was more of the same stuff that I was doing in Ohio. And, when nobody's kind of like there to check you or hold you accountable, you can become self-destructive and not even know it. And kind of that's what happened. And eventually, everything kind of caught up to myself with going to the combine. I went to the combine and I thought like wholeheartedly, I was like, man, I'll go to this combine and perform very well. And I'll kind of recorrect everything. But just the abuse from the prescription pills, the partying, and the kind of fucking around, everything had came to a head. And eventually things just kind of went downhill from there.
Were you selling drugs and shit like that, or did I hear that wrong?
No, yeah. So when I was done with football, I didn't have a way to take care of myself. And so I literally said, what am I going to do to take care of myself? And I just got back into the streets. And so just like any other guy, who's participating in street activity, in between selling dope and selling marijuana, it was just kind of like my thing to do. It's kind of how I took care of myself. When you look back on it, and I just want to mention it just because your platform is so huge. Oftentimes with these young guys, we go to these universities and we actually think that we're beating the system by going to these bullshit classes. Like when I was at Ohio State, I took, officiating golf, officiating softball, independent studies, and women's studies. And in that time capsule, you think it's a joke. You think that you're beating the system. But when the football is no longer an option and you can't physically play, and that university isn't part of your life, when you got kids and responsibilities and you have all of this other stuff, that are real things in your life, you start to realize that you weren't taught shit, that you were just basically pushed through a system and used for athletic ability. A lot of these guys, including myself, come from failing school districts, and I just think there's a responsibility that the university should take that, even if we're not going to get you the greatest of scholarships from here, if you can't academically perform, we should at least take an initiative to raise your current level of reading, literacy, mathematics, and everything else. And so that was just my 2 cents on this. So when it happened, I just turned back into the same character I was, before football started. And eventually, what was I doing before I got into football? I was into crimes and all the stupid shit like young kids, and football kind of saved my life. But once football didn't factor into my life anymore, I wasn't able to play. I turned back to the same kid, just a big-ass kid who can play football, who thought that, just being a gangster was more important than growing the fuck up. And that's it in a nutshell, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It's at West Virginia, we had a lot of guys who couldn't even read, but they were there, and it was just a situation where you really do watch the university just use them for their athletic ability. Now, granted, they're getting a lot out of it too, right? A potential opportunity to get out of the streets, move up, move on, potentially make the NFL and all that shit. But if it fails, there's not a lot to fall back on whenever your degree is in athletic coaching education. There's not really much you can do. So I see that all the time, and I respect you coming out and speaking about it. Let's get back to, did you work for a gang? Were you being by yourself? Did you try to build your own empire?
No. I was literally by myself. I ran with guys in my neighborhood. I come from Youngstown. We don't have, gangs are not super prominent. Guys are more geographically. They are, if you're from the South Side, you tend to hang with guys from the South Side of your neighborhood, or North Side, or East Side, or West Side, or wherever you have it. So it was just pretty much the activity amongst me and the guys in my neighborhood.
Too many Italians there, too. You got a lot of Italians there.
Yes, we do have it wasn't but a bunch of Italians, but we do have a bunch of Italians in a rich Italian culture within the city of Youngstown.
Too many, man. I'm from Pittsburgh. There's too many fucking Italians. There's 4.
Oh, so you're right next door. Yeah, you're right next door.
yeah. There's a lot of Italians. So now I see you do a speaking circuit. You're out there basically telling your story, and I assume that's to inspire and to motivate others that they can overcome adversity as well. Why don't you talk about that a little bit? How can people book you if they want you to come talk? Your story is incredible, and you coming out on the other side of this as professional and clean as you are is very remarkable. I hope you know that.
Yeah, so most of my speaking engagements are booked at MauriceClarettonline.com. I do 3 things. Speaking is probably the least of what I do, but it's probably the most visible. And so I do speaking engagements. I've spoken probably over 400 times to different universities, businesses, whatever you can name. I've probably spoken on these different platforms and at these different venues. But everything is booked through MauriceClarettonline.com. Also, one of the other bigger things I do is Business and Biceps with Corey and John Fosco. That is one of the things I think is, I call it like my therapeutic platform. I love those dudes and what we're able to do on a weekly basis. And I also run the Red Zone. The Red Zone, we're a mental health and recovery agency for adults and adolescents. I probably employ about 150 people now. We're awesome. Both in the city of Youngstown, also Columbus, where I live at. I travel back and forth running both offices and places, and a lot of what was learned either through mental health, I call it mental wellness, the importance of mental wellness and people being mentally fit and well, and understanding that is a thing just as much as we understand that physical fitness is a thing. And, if you want a bigger chest and bigger triceps, there's many different platforms that you can go and find that. But understanding that mental wellness and your mental fitness to endure all the stresses and traumas and situations of life, that those are things, and ultimately neglecting my mental health is what kind of put me in a downward spiral for 10 years. And I'm using a platform when I go and speak to people and tell my story I'm talking about, and raising awareness and giving education that these are things. But be it through personally speaking, the platform, the podcast, or the technical part with our facility with social workers and counselors and everything. I love working with those people because we directly tie into what's going on inside the country. You see a lot of people going through personal shit, be it trauma, be it stress, be it everything through this opioid epidemic, and relating your mental wellness or your mental fitness or your mental condition and the linkage or the correlation to it is highly important. I just try to use my story to inspire, to motivate, and to encourage.
That's fucking awesome, Maurice. You're a hell of a human, brother. I hope you know that from the streets of Youngstown to what you're doing now is absolutely incredible. I do hope you know that you are inspiring, encouraging, and motivating humans on a regular basis. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and chit-chat. Quick question, though. I don't want to bring it back up. At any point, did you think you were the next Pablo Escobar or anything when you were selling drugs?
No, I didn't think like this. So I think just like everything else, I think every kid, even when they're doing illegal activity, you know what I'm saying? I think that every kid wants to have success, and they want to be the best at what they're doing. And I'll say this just to make it known, because some people, this is the internet world, they take things out of context. It's not nothing that I promote. You know what I'm saying? If I can do it all over again, I probably wouldn't do most of the stupid shit that I've done. But I'm happy to come out on the other side because, I could have been dead. I could be in jail for a lifetime. I couldn't be on this platform talking to you. And just being here, being healthy, being a sound mind, and being able to speak, from where I'm at right now is a blessing. And so I appreciate the opportunity, my brother. It's cool. Like I had no clue that your platform was as huge as it was, just because I wasn't just dialed into the internet. Even though I'm on the internet all the time, I wasn't as dialed in. But it's cool to see you transition and take what you've done to different heights, just being a fellow footballer alone.
Well, I appreciate that, and not a lot of people know that I'm a monster, Maurice. It's just I just live out here. Yeah. I appreciate you so much, man. MauriceClarettonline.com, Business and Biceps podcast is a very good one, and what you're doing with the Red Zone is incredible. Thank you so much for opening up here, and it's nice to know that you do have that elite mindset that no matter what you do, you want to become the best. I respect that so much. Ladies and gentlemen, An absolute legend of a human, a man that's going to leave a lot more good than any of the small negative he has done in this world, Maurice Clarett. Thank you so much, Maurice.
Thank you, my brother.
Hey, cheers, man. Take care.
All right, thank you.
Unbelievable interview. When we first got this thing lined up, you hear a name like Clarett, and you kind of just assume he's been asked the same questions over and over and over. I didn't know how deep he was going to go into everything, but he was more than willing with Pat. Hey, let's talk about your criminal past, and he went right into it. Didn't shy away. He's obviously not too proud of some of the things that he did, but you can tell that now he's on that path back upward. He's a guy who the NCAA failed him. They just did. He got screwed over big time. You could argue in the moment there, ruined his life probably. Kind of robbed him at a chance of having a successful NFL career. Granted, he didn't help himself out as much, but it's really awesome seeing a guy like that kind of be able to look back on his career and notice that all those bumps and those like trials and tribulations, they got him to where he's at to now. And I'm pretty sure he loves what he's doing. He's happy with his life. He wouldn't trade anything that he has now for the opportunity to go put the pads back on. So thanks to Maurice Clarett. Again, that was an incredible interview. Before we get into this last interview, I'd like to give you guys all the chance to make a little money, okay? That's, everyone's trying to make a little money. And you can do that with our friends at Robinhood. Robinhood is an investing app that lets you buy and sell stocks, ETFs, options, and cryptos, all commission-free. You heard me, commission-free. While other brokerages charge up to $10 for every trade, Robinhood doesn't charge any commission fees, so you can trade stocks and keep all of your profits. Plus, there's no account minimum deposit needed to get started, so you can start investing at any level. The simple, intuitive design of Robinhood makes investing easy for newcomers and experts alike. View easy-to-understand charts and market data and place a trade in just 4 taps on your smartphone. You don't got to be down on Wall Street to be trading. You can do it through Robinhood. Very easy. 4 taps. You can also view stock collections, such as the 100 most popular, to kind of give you an idea of what's hot in the streets right now. With Robinhood, you can learn how to invest in the market as you build your portfolio. Discover new stocks, track your favorite companies, and get custom notifications for price movements so you never miss the right moment to invest. Robinhood is giving listeners of the Pat McAfee Show 2.0, our show, a free stock like Apple, Ford, or Sprint to help you build your portfolio. All you got to do is go sign up at McAfee.robinhood.com. That's McAfee, MCAFEE.robinhood.com. Shout out Robinhood. All right, the last one we got here, probably my favorite interview we've done since the rebrand. He was one of Pat's teammates. He's George Kittle's life coach. He's an American badass, and he's hilarious. This guy's just the best. So without further ado, to close this one out, ladies and gentlemen, American hero, Pat Angerer.
What's up, man?
Hey, Pat. Sorry, I was yelling at somebody there in the background.
Don't you ever apologize to me, all right? You understand?
Hey, listen, I don't need you wasting any of your good shit right now, okay? Just wait for a second.
Oh, fuck, I'm looking at a fucking tax return. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Stop. You're a life coach now. It's a big day.
It is. It's a big deal. My salary just increased quite a bit, so I'm pretty excited about it.
All right, let's get to it. You ready? Lady.
Yeah, man.
You can't see. I was about to give you an intro right there, and you just...
You got any pants on?
I have pants on, yeah. Where are you? Are you in your house, in your room? Where are you?
No, I'm at work.
Where?
Working hard, dude.
In a
all
bank?
Day long.
You're in a bank right now?
Yeah, man. I'm in a bank. A credit union. Don't get us confused with those pesky, slimy banks. We're a credit union. We're for the people here.
Okay. Do you have a button down on and like khakis on? That's what I'm imagining.
No, I got jeans and a polo over type deal.
Well, I guess it's out.
Cats aren't out though.
I guess it's out in Iowa, so that's probably what they would like you at a credit union to be a little relatable. Put the jeans on.
Yeah, I just got to cover up the tats. Just don't want to scare anybody.
Those American tats, though, are something that is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
I was thinking about getting an American flag tattoo on my arm. I thought about you a lot.
You should.
Well, I think you have the best one. It ties in the best. It looks like it's very patriotic, but it also looks natural.
It feels natural too. My problem was I just got a bunch of random tattoos, so then I had to figure out how to blend them all together so I don't look super white trash, but I still kind of look a little bit white trash, so I fit in at family reunions and stuff.
Yeah, because you don't want to sell out your people.
Absolutely, man. No, definitely not.
Especially now that you're a big corporate credit union guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Didn't you get a prison tat? Don't you have an at-home tattoo somewhere on you?
I got a what?
Didn't you get a prison tat, like an at-home tattoo gun?
Yeah. My brother got my older brother that's older than me. He got a tattoo gun, and he went to town on the kitchen table one night.
How old were you when that happened?
I was like 8. No, this was when I was in college.
Was this in the first 2 years? Was this in the first 2 years when you weren't playing? You were drinking too much, fighting people, and being an asshole, as George Kittle called it.
Yeah, that's pretty much. Yeah, I was doing a lot of stuff. I didn't leave out the don't get tattoos because you gotta get tatted up.
I don't know. George Kittle is tatted up, by the way. I think he is.
He's
tatted.
tatted.
Yeah.
He's tatted and he's spatted. White boy tatted. White boy spatted. Man, he's looking good.
You Iowa people are just a whole nother breed of human. You know that.
You mean that? That's a good thing, right?
Yes. I don't think and I talked about this about Mitch King, A.J. Eads, now there's George Kittle character, Dallas Clark, Bob Sanders never talked to me. I don't think he talked to anybody, but it seems as if the Iowa people are just good people.
I appreciate that. We're pretty down to earth. We're pretty much down for whatever. We're going to work hard. We're going to fight, and we like to drink our beer and we like to have a good time, but we also like to work hard and play hard. So, yeah, I was a good spot, man. There's good people here. I tell you what, Indiana's good too. I don't talk a lot about how much I enjoyed my time in Indy. I really like the people there. It's a lot like Iowa.
Do you reflect fondly upon your time in the NFL?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of good times there. I think about it quite a bit. Especially when you're at home watching the games and you're seeing guys that you know and that you played with, and yeah, man, it was fun. And we had a lot of good times, in that field, especially slapping Snow's ass on out there on punt and him getting all pissed. And
I feel like we did have a good time. Our team had a good rapport in there.
For as much as we lost, we had a good time.
What's the highlight of your NFL career?
What'd you say?
What's the highlight of your NFL career?
Oh, man, highlight?
Yeah.
Playing with you, other than that.
I respect that.
I don't know, man. I tell you what, we had fun. And, first couple of years were really good. And, I played pretty well. And I try to remember those years, those good times. And, the last couple of years kind of sucked as far as getting hurt and all that. And but just playing hard and and making plays and making tackles and celebrating and dicking around, having a good time. Those are pretty good times, man.
Do you remember whenever you told George Kittle that exact life lesson? Because whenever he said it, I was like, "Oh, that sounds like it's straight out of Pat Anger's mouth." And he was like, "Yeah, Pat probably doesn't remember this. It was at 6 a.m. It was a 15-second conversation. I'm sure he'll never remember." Did you remember ever saying that, or whenever he said that story the other day on the show, you're like, "Oh, good for me."
No, actually, what I do, because I was back there, because I want to get in strength conditioning, so I was back there learning from Coach Doyle. And, I was in there on the lifts and, walk around like I was all tough and, all that, the strength conditioning stuff that you do. Mm-hmm. And he came over and was like, "Hey, what changed for you?" And,
yeah, because I didn't know that. Hold on, though. By the way, I didn't know this, that your first 2 years at Iowa, you weren't shit. I didn't know that. I figured you were a stud.
No, I didn't start until like the third or fourth game my junior year.
Really? So you were just a practice squad All-American there for a while?
Pretty much. I was pretty much like a bar drinking All-American, I always worked hard and I always did, I always worked hard in the weight room and on the field and stuff. But, I'd burned the candle at both ends and, I wasn't good enough to where I could, balance it both. And, I had a lot of injuries. Yeah, so my first 2 years, Abdul Hodge and Chad Greenway were the linebackers. Or my first year, Abdul Hodge and Chad Greenway, those guys went to the NFL. Those guys are awesome. Greenway played for like 100 years. Made 1 billion tackles, and then the next 2 years there were two other guys that were very good, Mike Humpel and Mike Klinkenberg. So, I came in right away, and I'm like, well, hey, I'm just going to hang out and have a good time, and I'll play, when I'm a junior and, all that stuff. So I didn't prepare like I was a starter right away, like I should have. And, it kind of, in the sophomore year, like everybody on the team got hurt, except for me and a true freshman, and they're like, hey, and they were trying to figure out who they needed to put in, and instead of putting me in, they put in this true freshman, burned this true freshman's red shirt. So after that, I was going to quit. I was like, screw this, I'm going to join the military, kill a bunch of Taliban, and, be done with it. And, instead of being like, it's everybody else's fault, I'm not playing, this is bullshit, I'm getting screwed over, I looked myself in the mirror and was like, hey, dumbass, why don't you fix what you're doing and, start doing things the right way? And that's kind of what I did. And, that's kind of how what I told George is like, it sucks not playing, but you kind of got to look at yourself and look in the mirror and say, hey, this is what I got to change. And for me, I had to make Iowa football the most important thing in my life. And once I started doing that, that's when I started having success.
Holy shit. Hey, that was a real statement you just said. That was a real life lesson you just delivered right there.
You like that, man?
Yeah.
I'm a life coach now. I charge by the hour.
What's your rate?
What do you got?
Are you getting into professional wrestling right now?
I did do a show up in Iowa City, and I got talked into doing a tag team match, so I'll be doing that. But I'm very fat, and very out of shape, and I was in the ring for maybe a couple minutes, maybe like a minute at that show, and I was exhausted. I was smoked, man.
Did you get the win?
Well, an Iowa guy was in there, and he got jumped by these two guys, Vicious and Delicious, real dirty guys, real cheap, bad guys. So I had to jump in the ring, and I'm like, hey, man, get off my boy.
Yeah.
So they acted like they were leaving the ring, and then they jumped me, so I had to whoop their ass.
Of course you did, Pat. You're not just going to take it standing, take it laying down from Vicious and Delicious.
You're damn right. I'm not going to just sit there and let these dudes try to mess with me. I'm going to whoop their ass, and that's what I did. We tossed them out of the ring, and now they got a little tag team match, and they're going to get the boot to them because I whooped them. I was like on 4 years of Busch Light. Now I'm on 2 weeks of clean eating. They're pretty screwed.
Oh, what if you become a professional wrestler? What if you fall in love with what you're about to do with Vicious and Delicious, and all of a sudden this is like you're the new Stone Cold Steve Austin?
I tell you what, I think I got about one match in me, and I'm good. Those guys work hard. Their travel schedule's ridiculous. I don't know if I got it in me. And then you can't swear, which is hard. Obviously, I don't know how they do that. I don't know how when you're announcing, I don't know how you don't swear all the time.
I'll tell you what, we have like 7 rehearsals before that show starts, and they try to get it all out of me before it even starts. And then when it goes live, there's somebody in my ear that's like, remember, this is a family show. And then it's like, we're on. It's like, it's almost a running joke. Like, am I going to drop a fuck on the WWE network? It's a wild scene of it. There's a lot of money in it though. I think you'd be a good character.
It'd be fun, man. It would definitely be a good time. But yeah, I mean, you're like me. Like, we grew up watching that stuff. We grew up loving it. And to even just be in the ring just for a little bit, like, is like a dream, even if it's it's just a small show. That's like what that's like what we wanted to do growing up. I didn't want to be a football player. I wanted to be Hulk Hogan, that's what we grew up watching. And, it was cool being in the ring because it brought me back to playing. And, it brought back those same emotions, which was pretty fun,
Look at you, a little nostalgia, a little glory days in there. By the way, you're 100% right. I did grow up wanting to be a professional wrestler, and I'm 1-0. I took on a guy named War Pig coming out of college before I got drafted down in an armory down in Charleston, West Virginia. I'm undefeated. Who's next? Don't know if you ever heard that tagline. It's my tagline in wrestling. Who's next? I'm still undefeated.
You're taking on the world, man. I like it.
I'm trying.
I like it.
I'm not a life coach, though, like you. Like George Kittle might go on to be an all-pro, like literally a consummate all-pro. Mm-hmm. And he says, he is on record of saying that he's excited that Travis Kelce follows him. And then on the complete opposite side of that, the man that turned his complete life around was Pat Anger.
Who just told him not to be an asshole. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. What's crazy is I'm still an asshole, and I still drink a lot, and I don't sleep very well. So I don't know. My life's a mess right now.
Yeah, but you're retired and you're working in banks. Sorry, credit unions.
Credit unions, yeah. We're for the members here, Pat. We're not all these filthy banks. We're here for the members. We're community. We're good people here.
Do you watch any NFL at all on the weekends?
I do. This was the first year. So I coached high school a couple of years when I got out, and this is the first year I'm not coaching. And this is the first year, like, I really, truly enjoyed just sitting down and watching football. I'm really having a good time with it, and it's a great year to watch it, man. Those running backs are unreal. You got Hunt and Gurley and all those guys. I mean, those guys are just phenomenal. I've probably had more fun watching football than I have my whole life, because when you're playing,
it's a job.
You're doing it all day, and the last thing you want to do when you get home is freaking watch football. But now I really truly enjoy it. It's been a really fun year.
Do you watch the linebackers heavily? Like, are you, from watching all those years of film, do you just naturally draw yourself to watching the linebackers?
Sometimes I'll catch myself like being like, oh, they're in this coverage, or the offense is going to do this. But for the most part, because that gets exhausting, and for the most part, I just like to watch the ball like every other idiot and just kind of like enjoy it. I don't want to get too caught up into trying to decipher what the hell they're doing. But yeah, I mean,
Jason
sometimes
Witten,
caught up watching linebackers. There's some good linebackers out there.
Jason Witten tries his best to decipher what's going on. That motherfucker ain't got no clue. I don't know how he was so good in the league. He got no clue what's going on in that field.
Well, you know why he was really good? Because dudes like me were guarding him. That's why he was good. I'd be looking back at Antoine Bethea and be like, hey, what am I supposed to do? He'd be like, turn around, dumbass, you're supposed to guard that guy. Oh, okay, all right.
Jason Witten's telling these stories at his family about how he roasted this guy who is the leader in NFL sacks and currently the tag team champion of Iowa, Pat Anger.
Yeah, man, it's a crazy life. It's a crazy ride, man. It's just, I'm here. I'm encouraging people's life. I'm the only people. My only clients are all pro tight ends. And not to mention, I'm a tag team champ. I mean, it's a wild ride, and I'll get you the best rate you can get on a mortgage.
Are you going to work forever?
No, man. I'm gonna ride this life coach out for a while, and then probably just retire right off into the sunset, buy some 6-shooters, get a horse, and just go out west.
Didn't you say you and your friends in the off season took a trip to Tombstone or something? Didn't you? You had a friend who was in the military, came back. You guys went out into like the desert and like shot a bunch of guns. Was that you? Am I?
Yeah. So when my buddy would get back from Afghanistan, we got an RV up in Minnesota, because that's where one of my other buddies is living. So we got an RV up in Minnesota. We drove all the way down to Tombstone, Arizona. And the last thing you probably want to do with a guy who's just getting back from war is lock him in an RV for 24 hours with a bunch of booze. It's probably not the best idea, but it was a blast. We had a good time. Went down to Tombstone, met some cowboys, went to shoot some guns, and probably wanted from the police down there, but we got out alive.
That's absurd. People spend their off season getting married, traveling to the beach. Pat Anger hopped in an RV in Minnesota with a veteran, drove to the desert, shot a bunch of guns, drove back.
They'd always get us like, be leaving the bar at like 2 a.m. or whatever, and there'd always be some like psychic down there. So we'd pay them a bunch of money, and they'd have us talk to like these old like cowboy spirits and stuff. It's a pretty wild ride. So we talked to. You ever watched that Tombstone movie?
Doc Holliday.
We talked to Doc. We talked to all those guys, man. It's pretty wild. It's pretty crazy.
What did Doc have to say? Anything awesome?
He respects us. He likes us. And I think if we paid them a little bit more, he probably would respect us a little bit more as well.
I have a question. Is this something I could go do? I can go to this old town in the middle of the desert and live like I live in a Western movie?
Dude, you should go to Tombstone, man. It's awesome. Absolutely, anybody can go to it. It's an old Western town, man. It's awesome.
What do you do?
An hour and a half away from Tucson.
And it's like there's saloons and duels and shit?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's guns getting shot off there all the time, which was also, you got a guy who's just come back from war and there's random gun shots going off. It's probably not the best idea either.
All right. You get back to your taxes, man.
When are we going to Tombstone?
I'll get the RV, bro.
All right, perfect.
Hey, who's going to Super Bowl?
Oh God, I don't know. I tell you what, I like the Rams. I like the Chiefs, but I feel like the Pats are going to come on strong. They're probably going to end up winning it again.
Did Tom Brady
get healthy?
Did you ever get an interception on Tom Brady?
No, but he threw a lot of touchdowns on me, which wasn't very nice.
You got to pick off Peyton Manning, though, right?
Yeah, but that really wasn't anything I did. You know, it was I think Walden tackled him, and then it just kind of fell into my lap, and everybody's like, "Get down, you slow ass."
Did they make fun of you for being a Caucasian there, or just slow ass?
No, they didn't. I mean, usually they do, but it was mainly just get down and don't ruin this game for us like you already almost have.
Didn't you got a pick from Aaron Rodgers too, didn't you?
No, I got a pick from Aaron Rodgers scored a touchdown on me, but I got a pick from Hasselbeck.
Oh yes, and when he was at Tennessee, and then he joined the team.
Yeah.
Is there a conversation there between you two or no? Like when Trindon Holiday, after my tackle against him, he came and worked out for the Colts like a few weeks later, and he wouldn't talk to me. Like I wanted to go talk to him, and he wouldn't talk to me. He was like, stay off on his own. Hasselbeck.
Really?
Yeah, Hasselbeck. There was Grigson, whenever he got there, he wiped out all the pictures of anything that happened before he got there, all the captain's pictures, everything like that. He put up only new pictures from new guys. And 15 out of the 20 pictures were either Charlie Whitehurst or Matt Hasselbeck getting tackled. And they both ended up on our team. And he would just have to walk by those photos every day. It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome.
No, you know, Matt's a very humble guy, and he's a good dude. He didn't, we're fine. I mean,
he threw a lot.
He's a good enough player, made enough money. I don't think he really cares that much about it.
How about he's on ESPN right now? Do you watch any of our former teammates that are on the TV and judge them at all?
Yeah, I think those guys do good, man. I think Matt does awesome. I wish he would be on more games. He does a good job, and then Reggie does good on TV as well. Dan Orlowski, unreal. He's awesome as well. I mean, those guys do it right.
Did you ever talk to Reggie?
They need to get you on there.
Yeah. Do you ever talk to Reggie?
Yeah, I mean, I know he hates you.
He never
like
talked.
Most everybody else.
Man, I don't understand why he never talked. 8 years. We're teammates for 7 years. Not a one conversation. How's that happen?
Well, weren't you stuck on a plane with like next to him once, and he didn't say what he did?
He was 2 rows behind me. And I was like woken up by him talking in such a jovial manner with this old white guy who I thought was his agent. Nope, he just met him. Had this full conversation with the guy. I'm like, yeah, I've showered with you like 4 times.
No, Reggie was cool. He talked to me mainly because I was hurt all the time, so we were in the training room together. So you just didn't get hurt enough. You got to get hurt more. That's how you get it in with those guys.
Reggie does well on TV though. I think he's good on TV.
He does a good job, man. He's a good dude.
Freeney also good on TV.
Freeney can talk. He's smooth.
He is, and he's one of the best to ever play football too.
Yeah, it helps. Jeff Saturday does a good job as well. Great eyes. Beautiful smile, nice hair.
Skinny. He's much skinnier than you or I right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty fat, man. Pretty fat.
Are you really, or is this like you just being hard on yourself?
I don't know. I mean, I try to keep my shirt on as much as I can. But, I don't know. I'm probably like, 235 or so, 240.
I'm 240 right now as well.
You're a beast.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying to get in that ring.
Do you need a life coach or a tag team partner?
All right, well,
or a mortgage?
Listen, we're going to end this with a life coaching speech from you to me, bub.
You need the 5 pillars of life that I live by?
Yep, absolutely. Right now, please.
All right, well, maybe 4. Let me see what I can think of. Don't crap where you eat.
Okay, don't crap where I eat. Like dogs. Got it.
Keep deodorant in your car.
Deodorant in the car. You never know. Okay.
Never trust a born-again Christian.
Because they did something that was bad to become that.
Exactly. Don't ever trust them. Don't you ever let another man squirt water in your mouth.
You had a tweet 2 weeks ago. You said, the league is filled with guys that I like and then guys who let other men squirt water into their mouth. It was incredible.
It's the worst, man. Just grab the water bottle like a real man. And then here's the last one. I'd say don't get a neck tattoo unless you got $5 million.
Neck tat, $5 million. Got it. Okay, so we don't crap where you eat, deodorant in the car, never I didn't write that one down. 4, don't let guys squirt water in your mouth. Neck tattoo, minimum $5 million.
Never trust a born-again Christian.
Never trust a born-again Christian.
Yeah, that's a true. Let me write that one down. Because you remember that guy we had, the D lineman, the white D lineman that read the Bible every single day?
Yeah, that was really scary looking.
See, I had
a different one.
Yes, him. He was very scary, but he read the Bible literally like in the hot tub, in the cold tub, in the training room, in the hotel, on the bus. I thought he made a deal with God. Like, if you get me out of this, I will be the most religious human of all time. I thought for sure that happened. I'm like, this guy killed a guy. For sure he killed a guy.
The complete opposite of Zibikowski, which is why me and Zibby were probably better friends.
Zibby. Do you talk to him now?
You know what? He came back into town. One of my buddies who we talked about before, who had a heart attack and was in a coma for a while. We were in a parade, and Zibby called me. He's like, "Hey, I want to meet him." So he drove down from Chicago the morning of 4th of July and came down just to shake his hand and say hello, and then drove back up. That's pretty cool, man.
How is Zibby?
He's doing good, man. I think he's going to be boxing or do MMA or something.
I think he's clean, right? I think he had a whole 30 for 30 about how, or maybe not a 30 for 30. There was some story that came. First day I met him coming into training camp, sitting in the lobby of Anderson. It was probably 11:30 a.m. first day of training camp. He was on his 3rd Guinness beer. It was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in my entire life. I walked in. And he's like, "Oh, what's up? My name's Tom or whatever." I'm like, "Oh, what's up, Zip? My name's Pat." And he was like, "There's 2 crumpled up Guinness cans next to him, and he's holding a 3rd." I'm like, "This is the first day of training camp." I'm like, "This dude is on another fucking level. This guy is an animal." He was a good player too.
Yeah, he was good. I think like he used to always go out like before games when we were away and be like, "Hey, Pat, you want to come out there?" I'm like, "No, dude, I got enough problems." But, he's doing well, man. Tom's a good dude. He's a good guy, and, obviously he had, some demons, but he's doing good, man. I'm happy for Tom. You got to get him on the show.
I know. That's what I'm, in my head, that's what I'm thinking right now. I like Tom a lot. I like Zibikowski a lot.
Good dude.
I liked him a lot.
Great dude. He
was a lunatic, though, for sure. Like a full-on, he was an undefeated boxer whenever he was playing for the Colts. He had a fight in college in Madison Square Garden when he was in Notre Dame. He went out there and knocked the guy out in the first round, got like $50,000 from it. He was a college football player.
He was a Golden Gloves champ, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he's like an undefeated boxer, like an actual undefeated boxer, which would be.
He's badass.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have that just hanging in the mantle. By the way,
it's better to be an amateur tag team champ.
I think that's just you kind of spinning that life coach thing for yourself there. I think you just kind of. All right, man.
All right, Kid Rock.
Hey, Kid Rock still your favorite musician, or have you moved on?
I like Kid Rock, Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, Waylon Jennings.
What a man you are.
I tell you what, Eric Church is solid.
I don't know much about Eric Church.
He's cool.
Huh. Well, see you later, Pat.
All right, man. Hey, love you, brother. Have a good time, man.
You too. You're the best. See you, Pat.
See you, man.
That's the most ridiculous conversation I think I've ever had in my entire life.
That was good.
How about him he gets back, we get back into OTAs or whatever, and it's kind of like the first day of school where everybody's like, "Oh, what you doing this summer? What you doing this summer?" Right. Oh, whenever he sat down next to me, I was like, "Yo, how was your break?" He was like, "I went down to this western town." I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "My friend got back from Afghanistan, so we got an RV. We went down to the desert. We shot a bunch of guns like we were in a western movie, and then we just had a good time."
Of all the things.
I'm like, are you kidding me right now? He's like, "Yeah, no big deal." I was like, "No big deal. That's a hysterical." Pat Anger he is an American. He is an American's American, that guy. American flag tattoos all over. Prison tats whenever he's in college. How about when he said he was 8 years old? Yeah. That's the guy who shaped George Kittle's life. That's the guy that is going to make George Kittle possibly be one of the greatest tight ends in NFL history. That guy right there.
Tag team champ.
Dude, he was a legend.
Speaks well, too. Maybe he could be in the WWE.
I think he would be loved in the WWE, by the way.
Good character.
Would be loved in the WWE.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, though. It seems like he's past the physical work part of his life, Like, hey, it seems like their schedule's crazy, but if Vicious and Delicious want to get one. I love Pat Anger. I'm so thankful he joined us. Incredible, just relaxed conversation while he's midday at the credit union. For those of you that don't know much about Pat Anger, who is a teammate of mine, led the NFL in tackles for a year, was a second-round draft pick for the Indianapolis Colts as a middle linebacker. He's also just an outstanding human being. Here's a little Throwback Thursday clip from the first time Pat Anger was on my show.
I was hoping we'd talk about the naked locker room fight, but we can save that for another time.
I didn't know if you wanted me to bring it up or not. I didn't know if you wanted me to bring that up or not.
It's a pretty funny deal.
Pat Anger, big time MMA guy, loves big time tough grit guy, and he was involved in one of the most action-packed nude brawls I've ever seen in a locker room.
Let's hear about it.
Yeah.
If you'd like to talk about it, Pat, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I walk in the locker room, and this is during my whole surgery thing, and I think I had 3 surgeries in 1 month, so I was just kind of pissed off, and I was about a month out of that, and I was just kind of mad, and I walk in the locker room, and Dwayne's talking to Free, and they're arguing.
Dwayne Allen.
And I'm like, yeah, and I like Dwayne. I don't want this to be anything bad about Dwayne. Dwayne's a good guy. But he's talking about Free, how he's the best tight end in the league and all this shit, and I'm like, dude, shut up, man. And he goes, shut up, man. You don't even play. So I'm like, oh, shit, I got to punch this guy. and he's 280 at the time, so I try to punch him. I don't think it even hits or does anything. And he tackles me, and everybody kind of comes on top of me, and I see it looks like his arm's broken. And so I come out the side, and I'm like, oh, shit. Well, it turns out he was in a towel when we started fighting, and it wasn't his arm that was broken. It was his big wiener. And the worst thing about it is, I ended up with a black eye and herpes.
Luckily, you didn't go for an armbar there.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah.
His dick at an elbow.
Did you white guys try to shower together?
Well, I remember after that, everybody's kind of, it's kind of funny and blah, blah, blah. So I'm in the shower. I'm with Pat. It's like Pat was the only one that would talk to me after that. And I'm like, he's like, you good? I'm like, yeah, man, I just don't want to get in trouble. And, you looked at me, you looked at my pathetic body and my tiny wiener, and we're like, no, you're good, man.
Because Anthony Costanzo was naked as a motherfucker too. He was trying to break it up. So it was Dwayne Allen, who was 280 at the time. Anthony Costanzo, it happened in his corner where he was. He just got out of the shower. He's 6'7", 300 and probably 25, 30 pounds. And then you got little Pat Anger in there just throwing. And it was literally a sea of naked humans. And I'm just sitting in the middle of the locker room looking at it who's going to break this up?
I want full disclosure. I had my clothes on. I want to go full disclosure. I was fully clothed.
Oh, see, you were just under all the nude.
But if I would have known it was going to be a naked thing, I would have made sure to drop my drawers prior to. Now every time I get in a fight, I make sure I take my pants off.
Pat, go fuck yourself. We got to get to a break.
Hey, love you, brother. Hey, thanks for having me on, man.
Hey, love you too, man. We need to talk to you soon.
I love Anger, man. Love him. I mean, and also, if you guys thought that you were going to get through these best ofs without an interview from an Iowa guy, you were sorely mistaken. Obviously, I had to throw him on there, but I've loved Pat Anger for a long, long time. He's almost kind of like a folk hero in Iowa, I want to say. Him and my older brother were the same age, and I remember they were both in the playoffs at the time, different classes, but people talked a lot because Pat Anger played in the state championship with 2 or 3 broken vertebrae, I believe, and still had 16 tackles. Guy's just an absolute fucking maniac. He was always one of my favorite players at Iowa, and, again, same deal. I'd never really heard him do an interview or anything like that. And it just so happens that him and Pat were tight. They were teammates, still buddies, still talk to each other. So we get lucky enough every once in a while. He'll give us a call from his job when he's working at the bank, just trying to save some people money, trying to, help people with their mortgages. And he just comes with the fire every single time. Pat Anger, hilarious dude, doesn't take himself too seriously. He just, again, he's the best. He's the best. Hope you guys have enjoyed the shows I've put together this week. I know it's not quite the same without the entire crew here. Obviously, Pat is irreplaceable. Pretty hard to do that, but we will be back to regularly scheduled programming starting Tuesday. We're all going to be back from vacation. We got a bunch of new content, a bunch of new interviews. I'm excited for it. It's going to be nice. This recharge was much needed. Everybody kind of needed a break. Pat's probably put on 75,000 miles flying in like the last 3 months, it seems like. So I'm glad he got a break. Thank you so much to everyone that listens. We really appreciate it. Let's do one more hashtag Endgang, hashtag Endgame. Again, send some tweets to Pat. Keep him company. Let him know whether or not you enjoyed the show. Again, if you want to go ahead and cut me down, you can. But with the great stuff that we've been putting out, I think it's pretty tough not to have an electric best of episode. Glad you guys are riding with us. We'll see you all on Tuesday. Once again, I'm going to hit the music myself.